Okay, I see, what, 7 viewers. Welcome to the Arch Reactor debates. We're about to get started. Um, we'll start with Derek. Take it away, Derek. Actually, one second. Let's make sure. Can everybody hear Derek? Can everybody hear me? Takes a minute for them to... There we go. I think that fixed it. Say something.
All right. All right, this is a test. If you can hear me, go ahead and put it in the chat real quick and we'll get started. And Joe, I only see the text on the stream. Still can't hear Derek?
You only see... You don't see yourself?
Maybe not. Yep. There is Derek. Okay, all right, now we're getting some, okay, better. And I can speak up a little bit too. But I don't think you have the video over. Joe. Okay, looks like it's working from my voice. And Joe's going to work on getting the video over. All right, good deal. Okay, looks like it's working from my voice. And
I'm getting the video.
It's not making it to YouTube.
No, it's just you. This Frank just said
it's just me?
that you're hiding behind the beard, so you must be on your end.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right, well then we'll get started. Yep, okay, right, there it is. Okay, all right, thank you everyone. Every year we have elections for our board. These are leadership positions that kind of become the face of the organization. It is also an opportunity for active members to have a direct role in where our director heads every year. So it is a very important responsibility, and it is really the lifeblood of our organization is to have this leadership. So we're going to introduce the candidates tonight. They're going to have 5 minutes to give their speech, and then 5 minutes worth of question and answer with anybody in the chat. I'll go ahead and read the questions to the person running, and we'll have a good dialogue from there. We'll start at the top. We'll go with president and then move our way down. Even if there is nobody contesting the election, we still want to hear from the person that's going to be taking over that role. I will say that we have struggled a little bit this year in getting nominations. We've had years where we've had very good nomination numbers. It is when you get multiple people running for positions, it is a sign of a good, thriving organization. I will say that we're having a little trouble with that this year, but any Any position that is not filled through this election cycle will we'll address those positions one by one. The new board will address those positions one by one, but we will get them filled as promptly as possible. Okay, let's see. We'll start off with president, and for president we have Joe. So Joe, you've got 5 minutes to lay out your plans, and then we'll have 5 minutes of discussion. Starting now. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Well, somebody again has nominated me for president. Thank you, I guess, for whoever that was. I never nominate myself, so obviously somebody wants me to try again. I think the very first order of business will be to get somebody to fill the director of education position, as we currently didn't have anybody nominated that was able to accept the position at this time. So we will keep hunting for that. Fortunately, it is not one of the required positions that are legally required, such as treasurer or secretary or president. Other things hope to do this year, obviously, is we want to hopefully the pandemic eventually gets under control and we can continue opening the space, get back to having it open so that we can have classes and events and such again. But I don't plan on rushing that. I want to make sure it's done safely. But I don't see why we shouldn't be able to have that this year if the vaccine continues to roll out. Continuing on, I would also, I think we've done good work this past year with pushing to get space-owned equipment where appropriate. I think it's been done smartly this past year when we haven't gone broke doing so. And I hope we can continue that trend with the help of the board, the same as the board really facilitated that this past year with Derek in charge. And, I know Derek has been vocal in past years about a lack of issues with the with turnover on the board. I don't 100% agree with his solution on it as far as coming both staggering elections and extending term lengths, but I am open-minded. I do think probably something should be done, as the lack of interest in the board over the past few years has shown. So maybe I would be open to discussing doing one or the other, but or some other tweaks if anybody has some other creative ideas. Just I think we should do small tweaks and see how it plays out, and instead of just doing multiple grand changes. In science, you change one variable and see if it changes anything, and then change another variable. And I guess I hit the end of my bullet points with 2 minutes left to go. I will cede the rest of my time.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Let's take a look over here. So if anybody has any comments or questions for Joe, we'll go ahead and put them in the chat, and we can definitely ask those. I'll start it off since there's a little bit of a delay for you all to get those questions in. I'll start it off. Joe, what's been your major accomplishments over this past year?
Well, it's been hard to have a lot of accomplishments with not being there, but I have made myself available for all the board meetings. I don't think I've missed any. Correct me if I'm wrong. Had to step up, and the secretary, I know, had some family issues and has been out a lot, so I had to fill in a lot for that position. I would also put together the election for this year, so we'll see how this process works out. I'm hoping it turns out good. Let's see, I don't see any more questions on here. I'll ask one more.
what are some things we can do to increase that you think you could implement to increase remote activities, since we're not, I mean, we're not going to be anywhere close to normal till the end of the part of the year at the best. So what's some of your ideas for that?
Maybe some more. I'd like to toy around with maybe some more live streaming through YouTube or whatever. Maybe we can have some sort of. I don't know. These all sound cliche when I think them through, because of the things that people have been saying all year. But maybe we can have some kind of virtual work night, whereas people just get a small tripod for their phone, set up a Jitsi, and we're all just working in our own personal workspaces at home, talking to each other and kind of socializing and sharing ideas and that sort of thing. Is one thought that just off the top of my head. I'd be open to that. So it kind of sounds fun to me. I don't know.
Good. Let's see. All right, we're gonna. I guess that's. I can't see the timer myself, so I'm not sure where we're at. So, going once for questions for Joe, running for president. Eric Terry. One of the challenges I've had in the space is finding equipment, or equipment not being where it's supposed to be. Do you have any plans to address this? And that would be for Joe.
Um, I mean, organization is always a huge issue. Um, we've had several attempts in the past. I definitely would like to sit down with the future Sergeant at Arms to discuss the issue. I don't know where the ticketing system, that we had a ticketing system in the past. I don't know if that's still being actively pursued, where people had anybody could fill out a ticket if they found something in the wrong space, or projects left unattended. Kind of a parking ticket could be written and pasted to it. If that's not being used, then we should definitely re-implement it. If it needs some more work, or if that's not enough, then we'll have to figure out some more severe issues. Maybe start checking logs of, we'll have the tool system. We can start checking logs of when the tools were last used, if it was not put in the correct order. Maybe just start kind of doing spot audits of the shop throughout the week and figuring out, all right, was things cleaned up? And then if not, then again, we check the door logs. Those are just a couple ideas off the top of my head. Give that a whirl.
Okay. All right, good answer, Joe. Sergeant at Arms, you might want to take note of that, as that question will be coming to you too. All right. Any more questions for Joe? Going once. Going twice. All right, and moving on. Vice President. We currently have Morgan Moransky nominated for Vice President. I don't see if he's there. There you go. Morgan will give you 5 minutes to once Joe switches the video over to you, and we'll do that and ask questions afterwards. So go ahead, Joe, and give it to Morgan.
So I'm getting reports of there is a problem with Jitsi. There's that. Oh, look, there's a bunch in the chat. Yeah, nobody's getting any audio or video except us. So we might have to restart the Jitsi. Let's have everybody log out for 60 seconds. I'll restart this and reboot it. Okay? I guess they can't hear me, so I'm going to type that message out. You too, Derek.
Wow, this looks a million times better. Okay, are you ready, Joe? Okay, thank you all for that. Sorry, apologies for that delay. We're going to move on to our vice president candidate, Morgan Moransky. Morgan, you have 5 minutes to give us a little platform speech, and then it'll be followed up with 5 minutes of discussion. Go ahead, Morgan. Thank you.
All right. My name is Morgan Moransky. I've been a member of Reactor since 2013. It's been a long time, but we couldn't have elections without some technical difficulty, so I feel better we got that out of the way and we're getting back on track. Vice president role is really a support role, support the president, fill in where other people aren't there, and I am certainly capable of doing that. For those of you who don't know, I have been on the board several times, mostly in a public relations capacity. I do have ideas about the space and what I think should be done. I helped plan the voting guidelines that Joe was talking about with Derek, and I am in favor of some changes because I feel like 1 year in the position, you're barely starting to get your feet under you and understand what you're supposed to be doing, and then elections come up again and everything needs to start over again. I do think our biggest challenge is going to be opening up back again after the pandemic. There are a lot of unknowns in terms of where we're going to be in the next year. One of my long-term goals has always been to make Arch Reactor a place that people feel welcome to come in, to learn new skills, do new things, and be able to take advantage of what we offer, which really is a workshop full of materials and opportunities that you wouldn't be able to get doing it entirely on your own without an enormous amount of expense. And I think if we make Arch Reactor a place that people want to be, and it doesn't feel like a burden going to, we will be more successful and we'll be able to get new members in. I would like to see us do more of what we can when we're in quarantine. So it's harder to have, table saw classes online, but there are a lot of classes that we could do online. Some of the 3D printing classes, CAD classes, programming classes, things we've done in the past that we haven't been doing so much. One of the things I think would be a lot of fun is to have a YouTube night. So instead of a build night or a meeting every Tuesday night or something going on, having a member come in and do a YouTube video on whatever it is they're working on or whatever they want to do. They can come in, set it up by themselves with maybe 1 or 2 other people, and then share it out to the community, share it on our YouTube channel, and bring some more publicity for the space, but also so that people can connect to what other people are doing and learning something new about what's going on. So that's basically all I've got. So I'll take the rest of my time in questions.
Thank you for that, Morgan. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so we will
give them a minute. There's a good 5-10 second delay before they've heard us finish.
Does anybody on the Discord have a question for Morgan? Director, okay, so we do have one. If you had one thing you wanted to achieve this year, Morgan, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing I would hope to achieve this year is a successful, safe, and healthy reopening and getting people back into the space. But like Joe, I am not in a hurry to do that. I think it needs to be, once there's higher level of vaccination, and it's safe to do so. But that's what I would think could be accomplished this year.
Okay. Let's see here. Any more questions for Morgan? Going once? Going twice?
Again, let's give him a minute. There's a good 10-second delay.
All right, and okay, I think we're going to move on. Morgan, thank you very much. Moving on, we'll go down to secretary, where we have Ed Hassell running. Ed, you'll have 5 minutes to give your platform, and then 5 minutes.
We did get
debate.
We did get one last question for Morgan, if he wants.
Sure. All right. So Frank, echoing Eric's questions from earlier, we seem to have had several security issues in the last year. What are your options for solutions there? Go ahead, Morgan.
I think that is an excellent question, because even though I feel like this location is safer than our last one, clearly there have been multiple security issues, and frankly, to be honest, the cameras haven't been enough. So I would suggest we do make sure that we have good coverage with our cameras so that you can see every part of the space and the parking lot to make sure that anything that gets stolen is known. I think recording the ins and outs of who's in the space with the key cards is going to be vital, because you'll then be able to match up with when something went missing and who was in the space at the time to do that. And honestly, I think with a police substation around the corner, we should see if there's some way that we can get maybe a patrol around every once in a while, or develop a relationship that if we need to call the police because something happened, we can do it. But I think continuing to allow theft is not an option.
All right. Thank you, Morgan. All right. Moving on to secretary position, we have Ed Hassell. Ed, you'll have 5 minutes to give a speech, and then 5 minutes worth of question and answer. Go ahead, Ed.
Sure. So first off, can you hear me? Awesome. So my name is Ed Hassell. I've been around the space for a few years now. I've been serving on the board as Director of Education, where I've enjoyed this position and spent a lot of time building out curriculums and instructions for using most of the equipment that we have in the space, with the exception of a lot of material in the metal shop. So as I finish off working on the Director of Education material, that's something that I've been really proud of to accomplish for the space, because it means that that's available for people to use and they're able to use that moving forward without having to rewrite material. As I'm moving into the secretary position, I'll know that my time needs will be a little bit different this year, but I still enjoy volunteering with the space and being part of this community. So I'm interested in being the secretary as a way to keep up with the board and what's happening in Reactor, and I'm excited to continue to do that. If I were to answer one of my questions that I threw out earlier, I think one thing that I would be really interested in accomplishing beyond being secretary and consistently keeping notes on our meetings, I do think it's neat that we're starting to pursue some different avenues of communication, such as Discord, and I definitely could see helping the Director of Public Relations push that sort of material. So that's what I got. I can type, I'm basic computer literate, and I'm here to serve the community. What more could you want?
What's your favorite font?
What's up, Kim?
I said, what's your favorite font?
My favorite font?
Just kidding.
If it's not neon pink Comic Sans, I don't feel like I'm in a cyberpunk world.
All right, thank you, Ed. Let's go check. If anybody has any questions for Ed, you can post them in the YouTube chat. Does anybody on the Discord server have a question for Ed?
Vim Remax.
I'll go ahead and put one out there. Ed, if you could think of one thing to really push the secretary position to do that is currently has never been done before, what could it be?
Sure. So one of the neat things about the secretary position is I think it's a great way for new people to get involved with the space. You know, it's pretty straightforward, the needs. I know at least Kim has started in that, and she's been a great addition to the board since taking that role. For me, as somebody who has a little bit more experience at the space, I would probably be interested in maybe picking one or two projects that seem popular to help push in the space and to support other positions. Again, such as the Discord, or maybe I help with the Director of Education work as whomever that is gets onboarded. But I really see me being in more of a support position as secretary as opposed to the Director of Education or other roles where I'd be managing my own projects more directly.
Good answer, Ed. Thank you very much. We'll give the stream a second here to get caught up. We'll say questions for Ed. Going once, going twice. I'm going to skip over Morgan's question and going for a third time. Okay. We'll move on. Thank you, Ed. Let's go to our next position, which is treasurer. We have Alex Hall for treasurer. Alex, we'll give you 5 minutes for your platform, and then 5 minutes for discussion. Go ahead, Alex. Thank you.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Looks like it. Okay, so I'm Alex Hall. I've been the treasurer for the space for the last year, running for treasurer again this year. Over the last year, I think I did a pretty good job being treasurer. All of the paperwork got filed more or less on time, before the deadlines at least. We haven't run out of money. We haven't accumulated too much money. Not that would be too much of a problem. Everyone's been paying their dues most of the time, despite a few hiccups with PayPal's automatic payment system. I've also helped support some other projects, like some of the new equipment purchases, and made sure we had money for that. So we plan to do pretty much the same thing going forward this year, assuming I'm reelected. Don't really plan to change anything about the treasurer position. It's a pretty well defined position with a pretty solid amount of responsibilities and pretty well defined responsibilities. One thing that we could pursue. Especially people who are interested in helping with this is, since we are a nonprofit, there's a lot of grants and such out there for nonprofits. So we could look into pursuing some of those, particularly for new equipment purchases or for any identifiable large expenses that the space might come across this year. But it'll be somewhat dependent on getting some help, because I don't think I'll be able to do all of that all by myself. So if people are interested in that, I will certainly be interested in helping and getting help with that. I also have a couple of really cute cats that like to show up on our streams, so if you want to keep seeing the cats, you should elect me. I think that's all I have to say, unless there's any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for Alex from the Discord channel before I go to YouTube? All right. Well, I'll throw one out there. It does appear I've heard your term. You've called some of our process flow for onboarding and the opposite of disabling accounts. Cumbersome, to put it nicely, and need to be a little bit more honest. Do you think this is a core problem, or is this a situation where we could probably just read more better best practices and use the tools we have?
Yeah, so some of the things that are tricky about getting people in and out of the organization are due to our CRM and the PayPal integration that just don't work as well as you'd like them to. Particularly the PayPal integration sometimes is a little sketchy. That's probably not something that we're going to be able to fix. So I think the best way to help that would be to probably improve our onboarding process, make sure that our documentation is right. I think some of the documentation for new members on the website is still outdated with our previous process. So clean some of that up and make sure people know exactly what to expect. Then if something happens that they don't expect, like, for example, from experience, PayPal just decides that it's not going to let you do recurring payments to us, no matter what you do, then if they run into something like that, they know that that's not right, and they should get a hold of me and figure out, or whoever the treasurer is, and figure out what's going on, instead of just kind of sitting there wondering if that's normal or not. I don't think the structural problems with the PayPal CRM integration are something that we're going to really be able to fix. I also want to throw out Civic CRM and put together a whole new membership management system. Perhaps the webmaster would be better for that end of things.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Let's skip over here. Is anything? Derek is question. For things we could include in our budgets to improve the space.
Well, we've already included, for last year, we included a fair amount of equipment purchases, which improves the space in a pretty obvious way. We do have, at least I did, I think every year, every budget I've looked at for the space, we have a budget for some of the more essential consumables that the space hasn't always been great about purchasing. We should probably develop a formal list of what the space is going to provide and make sure we have it in stock all the time. There's other, I'm sure there's other projects we could do to improve the space that will require money. That's mostly going to come from the other members of the board and any members of the organization that are interested in spearheading them. But there's probably some more tool purchases that I assume our Sergeant Arms will be interested in this year. There's probably some facility improvements we could make, like fill in some of the big potholes in the parking lot, for example. So the big thing on those is getting them in the budget and then getting people to help out with them.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alex. Let's see. All right, any more questions for Alex? Going once. Going twice. All right, that's all the questions for Alex, unless anybody in Discord has one last question for Alex. Going once. Going twice. All right, we'll move on. The next question is we're going to move over to Sergeant at Arms. Let's see. So we have Craig nominated for Sergeant of Arms. Craig, you got 5 minutes to talk, and then followed by 5 minutes of discussion. Go ahead, Craig. Thank you.
All right. Hey, I got nominated for Sergeant at Arms. I've been working with Alex and Kim and Ann and Derek a lot over the summer while the space has really been closed to upgrade some of the tools, reface some of the things we've had, make basic improvements to the space. Really enjoyed that. Gave me a lot of ideas of things we could do better. So I'm would be anxious to look at this or to be the Sergeant at Arms here. I can relate to a lot of the comments that I heard other people make for the other positions that kind of are going to fall to the sergeant at arms. Finding things is difficult. There's a lot of, hey, I thought I saw this once, and oh, well, it might be over in this cabinet or that cabinet. It makes it difficult. Alex just talked about tracking consumables. I think is a big thing for us. Understanding what consumables the space should provide and what consumables individuals should provide for themselves for certain projects. I think making that a part of our, not part of our bylaws, at least part of our policies, making that really clear. Let's see what else. I think one of the other problems that I've seen there that the sergeant at arms can address or help to address is I find myself spending a lot of time getting things to work before I'm able to use them. Finding them, put them together. Uh, I go to weld. I didn't know one of the people had this problem a few weeks ago going to weld something, and we're out of gas. We're out of welding gas. Well, we have to go get welding gas now, so that delays that, or grinding discs, or whatever it happens to be. I think making the space more efficient for people to get in and get a project working will make everybody's job a lot better there. Make for a happier space. The security and theft. I remember I heard that came up a little while ago. Again, falls to the sergeant at arms for that. That's a hard one. We're very open in the space. Frankly, anybody can walk in there and take something and walk out, and nobody'd ever know it. Even the cameras wouldn't detect a lot of it. We've had things go missing when the person was on the camera, and we couldn't find out who it was. I'm not sure what the solution is to that, other than tighter tracking of who's in there, what they're doing, what tools they're using. I could kind of thinking in bigger terms. Again, it's a bigger project, but for some of the more important or more expensive tools, a checkout cabinet, and use some of the technology that Josh Frank put in for the machine lockouts. So you have to use your badge to go pop open a locker and get a tool out, and you got to go pop it open again to put it back. Maybe with a sensor in that detects if the object's still in there, so we know who's done stuff. I think part of what we're looking at too is breakage. People make mistakes. It's a learning space. I think we need to understand what level of breakage that we expect for the machines. And back to the budget question somebody brought up, build into the budget money for oopses for those things. So people don't feel like, oh, I just broke off a wrench or broke this, or now I don't know who's going to fix it, so I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to run away, or I don't know who to tell. And so good reporting mechanisms, good kind of after action reports for those things, so we know everybody can learn from the mistakes as well as the good stuff, and then support from the space to be sure we have the stocks on hand or get them quickly to repair those machines that get broken. What else? Another thing I thought, again, another big project, but I think it'd be good to have a kiosk of sorts, maybe a big touchscreen monitor, 22-inch monitor that you could go through and look to see where things are, have an inventory of all the tools. We know where they're supposed to be. You can go look, slide through it. If you need consumables, you do an inventory. Hey, we're low on sanding discs. Put a belt sander. Okay, we're out of them. So we should have two. We got one.
Okay, that's your time. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Craig. Those are all wonderful ideas. Before we ask the YouTube for any questions, is there any questions in the Discord members? Anybody got any questions?
Okay, I was just going to ask what you would
I think probably the first thing I'd want to do is understand what tools we need to have as a group uh, to support the projects that the members want to build, and start to focus in on those. And then identify, I think there's probably 5 or 6 shops, the wood shop's an obvious one, the metal shop, the sewing shop, electronics shop. Figure out what those are and work to make those holistic based on the priorities of members' projects. Be the first thing I'd want to do.
Okay, let's see here. My YouTube's refreshing here real quick. I'm not seeing any questions in the YouTube chat. So,
Yeah,
thank
the
you very
delay,
much.
just so you know, the delay's gone up to about 20 seconds.
Right,
Yeah, we're just at the 4-minute mark right now on YouTube. So.
The next position, director are Kim Stahl nominated for that position. Kim, go ahead and you have 5 minutes to put your platform and then 5 minutes for discussion. Go ahead, Kim. Kim, I'm gonna stop you just one quick second. You put your microphone up to your mouth and it's really, really soft. So,
I was just saying that since the pandemic, that maybe I didn't get to do as much as I had planned and hoped for originally. Things like partnering with the local library, I think is a great source. I love actually working with them, just using kind of like local groups to with and develop more of our community. We're still kind of unknown. Unless people know what makerspaces are, they have no idea that we exist. And just kind of shining a little bit more light, but probably not doing like television. But just getting more acknowledgement within our community. A lot of is what my plan is.
okay.
And I'll help them.
Good job, Kim. Let's see. Kim, if you answer some questions, go ahead and speak loudly into the mic because we really can't hear you very well. So, are there any questions for Kim from Discord? All right. I'll throw out a question. What have you been most proud of your work this year on the board?
Just maybe helping out with curing the metal shop stuff. That's using it a lot. That and being pretty quick to respond to making the space safe for people to enter, the few that do. I feel like having the hand sanitizing station and the masks and stuff and the signage up does make people feel somewhat comfortable.
Good.
So I did want to jump in and thank Kim and Derek both for doing so much to make the space safe. That was definitely a lot of you guys putting in the work and making sure that happened.
All right, thank you, Ed.
So, question for Kim? Again, going back to the theme of there's a lot of stuff that happens at the space each year. What would be one major project that you would want to push through in 2021?
Actually, I really like the consumable closets and or kind of like little stand we had maybe like talked about at some point during the procurement of tools, about kind of making like a backup plan for members. I don't know if it's actually going to happen this year or not, but kind of partnering on to what Craig had just mentioned, where he would like to have a consumables backup plan or store or something idea. We had once mentioned it, and I think that'd be great, and it's something I would help drive with, promoting within our space. I mean, I'm not going to start the newsletter back up anytime soon, but I'll find some other way to like announce big things like that, and push our own members' initiatives.
Okay. Any more questions for Kim from either Discord or YouTube? Going once. Going twice. All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Kim. Next is, we do not have anybody present for Director of Education, so we will be pursuing people to fill that position after the first round of elections. And then the last one is Webmaster, and we have Robert Ward and Bob Watson nominated for that position. I haven't seen Bob Watson on here yet today, but I did talk to him a few days ago. So I'm pretty confident he's still interested in running. So let's go ahead and turn it over to Bob Ward. Bob, you have 5 minutes for your platform, and then followed up with 5 minutes of discussion. Go ahead, Bob.
Thanks. I'm Robert Ward. I think a lot of people know me. I'm one of the original Arch Reactor members. I was the first president of Arch Reactor. For the past probably 5-6 years, I've mainly been involved through 2600, doing personal projects and stuff. I've kind of gotten back around to a place with other things going on in my life that I have a little more time, and I'd like to be able to give back to the community and do what I can to help. I think I'm qualified to be the webmaster. I do, software development for a living. I run a startup, technology startup. My qualifications, few different, priorities that I think I'd be interested in. After talking with Joe over the past week, I kind of realized that the webmaster role has expanded a little bit from kind of the original intent. I think my first priority would be to work on some of the existing projects. I understand the tool lockouts are an ongoing project that's definitely been an important thing we want to try to get done. I also understand there's some work being done to improve the Wi-Fi in the space. Like to get that going. As far as some kind of general project ideas, aside from finishing up the ongoing stuff, making sure we don't leave hanging, I think my biggest priorities, as usual with most technology, are going to be getting things, getting the systems we do have documented, well understood, well laid out, so that we have good records of what's running where, how things are working, what we actually have, good systems in place for dealing with what happens when things break, how do we get updates done, that sort of stuff, process improvements. I'm not privy to the inner workings of the board. I'm not entirely sure how much of that stuff we have now. At a high level, those would be my priorities. As far as some specific ideas of new things, I know there was some work done on putting a CUDA server in the space. I think more resources like that, especially over the next year while we're remote, trying to get things in place that people can access and use remotely to keep working on projects, look at what we can do to enable people with their projects, even if they can't physically come to the space. It sounds like on and offboarding new members is a problem that I can definitely that I think the webmaster probably has a role to play in helping with that. Whether it's through improvements to CRM or replacement for it, if that's the direction we decide to go. Aside from that, I think the role is a lot about enabling and supporting other groups. It's going to be, how do we make sure that we're using our tech resources to effectively promote, things from the director of education and trainings from the sergeant at arms? How do we make sure that we're enabling, how do we make sure that we're marshaling the technological resources we have to support kind of the underlying goals of the organization? I see I've got a little bit of time left. I'll go ahead and yield that if there's any questions.
All right, thank you. I guess I need to ask, you go by Robert or by Bob?
Robert's fine, or Bob, or Bert, depending. Whatever you're in the mood for.
Okay. All right, so is there any more questions for Robert from Discord or from YouTube? I will say things have changed a lot in the web master role. For a quick story while we wait for some comments to come in or some questions to come in. One of the funniest things in history was the fact that we had the most argued over debate was over the webmaster role and not president or vice president or secretary or anything else. Everybody wanted to complain about the nit and picky of the webmaster role. So that was a long time ago. All right, so any more questions from Discord? Going once, going twice. Let's check out how Morgan did ask, how long can you be a founder of a company before it is no longer a startup? That's a good question. You're not really a startup anymore.
That is correct. We are a profitable going concern. So I'll say tech company, not tech startup.
That is, I think you are. I think you have achieved that goal. Of course, it would not be a webmaster debate without Vim versus Emacs. I'm a simple nano guy myself, but go ahead.
I'm actually using mostly NeoVim these days. I've evolved past Vim even.
All right. All right. I think that's all the questions. Any more questions? Going once? Going twice? That is a wrap. Okay. Thank you all so much for your time. Everybody that is in a membership, active member right now will be getting an email from a software package that we're using for voting this year, and the voting will open tomorrow and carry on through I want to say the 31st. Joe may have to correct me. Is it the 31st?
Hey, Derek.
Just a second, Morgan. Joe, how long does the voting go on till?
Go answer his question while I double check.
Okay, go ahead, Morgan.
I would just like to thank the outgoing board. I think all of them have done a wonderful job. Some of them in new positions, some of them new to Arch Reactor, but given the circumstances under which you had to work, I think you did a great job, and I appreciate everything you did this year.
Thank you, Morgan, and I agree with that statement for the entire board. We'll be addressing thank yous and a little bit of transition during the next business meeting. That will definitely be a subject of topic. Okay.
And it is the 31st. tomorrow through to the 31st.
Frank is asking if the video will stay up on YouTube for a while. Yes, it will. Bob Watson not running for webmasters? Well, he is. He wasn't able to make it tonight. I will follow up with him tomorrow just to confirm. Let's see. Okay. All right, but yes, he will still be on the ballot. Okay. All right. Does anyone either through Discord or through YouTube have any more questions before we adjourn? Going once.
How can you get a hold of a board member if you have a question?
The best way to get a hold of the board is to send an email. I don't have it. It's really, I wish you could just send board@archreactor.org, but sometimes it doesn't work. So it's archreactorboard@googlegroups.com. Go ahead and search through the forum and you'll see that listed. But yes, sending an email to the board is the best way to contact us. All right, going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you all sincerely for this time. It has been a tough year. There's no doubt about that. We've done the best that we can, and I think we did great. I've heard many compliments as people have come through this space that it's cleaner than it's ever been before, and I'm excited to see what new faces and new ideas bring to the board next year. So. Yeah, I agree with Morgan's comments, and we will address those sincere thank yous during the next business meeting. With that, I guess we'll conclude. And
if I may, real quick, I just want to thank everybody for showing up tonight and showing up to the stream. Makes me feel like, this effort that we went through was worth it, even though we did have some technical details in the middle and that we were able to recover from, fortunately. But yeah, thanks for everybody for playing along.
And thank you, Joe. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.